In this training video, we're going to have a look at Gearlog's import tools, which provide a quick and efficient way to make large-scale changes to your data rather than simply typing in directly through the user interface. To access our importers, head to the Tools menu. They are located in the bottom half of that menu. The importer that we'll specifically look at today is that for adding new equipment, import gear. All our importers work in a very similar way, so by looking at one, you'll get a general idea of how all of them work. Just for the record though, the other importers we offer are to add inspection records for existing equipment in the platform. That's very useful where you conduct inspections offline into a spreadsheet and then need to upload them to the platform when returning to base. If you've got lots of users, then there's an import tool to add user accounts. If your users have been on training and received lots of qualification records, there's a bulk importer for adding qualifications to your users. If you need to change your equipment on bulk, for example, new serial numbers for everything, then the bulk updater is a great tool for that. Finally, to be used with caution, bulk delete will let you specify a large number of equipment records that you'd like to delete from the platform. The majority of users won't have permission to do that. As mentioned, they all work quite similarly, so let's just take one to get familiar with the tool, import gear. There are two ways you can use this tool. The first is to download our template and use that directly. That's pre-mapped for the platform. You simply need to fill in the rows and upload it into the platform. Alternatively, you can create your own file and upload that yourself and map it into our platform. We'll take that example first and then return to looking at Gearlog's template. Before we do that, just a quick word on the file format to be used. Probably you'll use a spreadsheet for creating and manipulating your import files. When using a spreadsheet, please remember to save as CSV. That's comma separated variable. That's the format which Excel or other spreadsheet programs can produce, which is simple and can be uploaded directly into Gearlog. We don't accept spreadsheets directly. Remember to save a CSV. Let's upload a sample file that we've created and see how that process works. Browse to locate the file. Note that that's a CSV file, comma separated variable. We'll open that and upload it into the platform. Gearlog will try and map the column headings it sees in your file to our platform. Deliberately in this case, we've made the column headings somewhat strange so that you can see that mapping having to be fixed by us manually. Often, the fuzzy mapping in the platform will correctly determine what you intended by that column anyway. In this case, what sort of gear is what we would call category. Supplier is what we would call manufacturer. The name of the gear, that's what we would call description. Assessment, that's what we would call its status. And finally, when it's next due for a check is what we would think of as the next inspection date. If you're wondering what that file format is and how to find out more about what our column headings are and what our specification is, then you can have a look at our specification guide highlighted there, which will give you an exact list of all of the possible Gearlog fields and what they mean. Once you've established that mapping, that's saved in the platform. You'll never need to do that again. So if you continue to use the same format in the future, you won't need to go through this mapping operation. Let's move on to the next stage of the import. Gearlog would now like you to link together what you've used as status values to what we have. It will use a fuzzy logic to determine this, and in this case has automatically mapped it for us. Only one example in the file, good, and it's assigned that to our status of good. Category mapping, again, this uses a fuzzy matching, and generally Gearlog will be able to determine most of your categories simply by scanning your text. Those it can't, you can choose what category it maps to. Finally, manufacturers. This generally maps very cleanly unless you've got some spelling mistakes or typos inside your manufacturer names. And as mentioned earlier, all of those mappings are saved. You won't need to repeat those the next time you use the importer. Let's hit next to check our data and then commit it to the platform. When we're ready to move on, the platform will validate the data for us and then tell us in this case that it's happy the data is all clean. It's putting it through exactly the same checks that it would put it through if you were typing it into the user interface. A couple of options are given to us. If we're adding new equipment and we haven't chosen to specify a serial number, and we didn't do that in our file, then Gearlog can automatically generate one for you as it inserts the equipment. We'll change that to yes. And if you would like to note that this equipment was present on the platform due to an import, then you can opt to include a message in the file which will say this piece of equipment was imported by such and such user on such and such date. When we're ready, in this training example there's only one row. Yours may have hundreds and hundreds of rows inside your file, and you're ready to execute that import. Hit execute import in the top right hand side, and the platform will begin to load and insert your equipment into the platform. When it's finished, and you can navigate away from this and it will carry on working quite happily in the background. When it's finished, you'll get an email to notify you that it's been done, and that equipment will now be present on the platform. Hopefully that's given you a useful sense of the first type of importer, which is how to use your own file. Let's go back over that example again and just have a quick look at our template as well. If we return to the import menu, and this time where offered, we'll take Gearlog's import file template instead. This is very useful if you don't yet have a file, but you would like to create it yourself. You might as well use our specification straight out of the gate. Click that file and it will download a template for you with the same category headings as our platform is expecting, ready for you to fill in, populate, and then upload into the platform. If we then take that template, having tidied it up in our spreadsheet, added some rows, changed any text, populated it exactly how we want it, we can then browse and upload that into the platform. This time, because it's using our format, as you can see, all of the category headings have been automatically mapped, ready for you to go. The rest of that import process is exactly the same, and we don't need to look at that again. You would work through it step by step. The advantage here is the file that you've used was automatically mapped for Gearlog and provides some direction as to what you might want to think about capturing in your import file before you upload it into the platform. Hopefully that's been a useful guide to how to use our importer for new equipment, and do bear in mind, once you have your equipment in the platform, there are a range of other importers that you can use to manipulate that equipment and also to do things like bulk upload users and qualifications. Those importers work in a very similar way, but do reach out to us, info@gearlog.org, if you have any questions on this importer or any of our others.